2 feet. Make sure it's going straight.
While finishing our below slab electrical the other day, we painted our perimeter footings and started digging, without the backhoe. I'm loosening up the rock and soil, and my son is shoveling it out. Now that my son is almost a teenager, building muscles has piqued his interest. Hopefully I can keep up with him. At the very least, I need to try and stay ahead of his youthful enthusiasm. Today, we're starting to lay out our 9 interior footings that our posts will sit on. This is a monolithic foundation with integral footings on both the perimeter and the interior. A lot of measuring and running of string lines, trying to make sure that our post footings will all line up and clear all the below slab utilities. We've already marked the forms around the perimeter of the building and are stretching string lines across the rock pads so we can find and mark everything, like the bathroom walls and the interior footings. We need to make sure that the string lines are all squared up as well. So we designed our own foundation and did the grading and forms ourselves, but since we need almost 2,000 square feet of finished concrete floor, my wife has been encouraging me to keep my stubborn grit under control. So we're trying to find and hire a crew to place and finish this concrete all at once. So we started asking around for a reputable concrete crew, and one of my good friends who happens to work in the commercial world of construction got us a great recommendation. So the contractor came out to bid our job and said our prep work looked great. I'm like, Daddy, you're hired. Tell us what we want to hear. But seriously, we were looking for a crew that could handle a jointless floor, no control joints, no cuts in the concrete, and a whole list of other details I had dreamed up. In other words, we were asking for a more commercial quality floor than the typical residential slab. Our second oldest daughter is dropping off some much needed caffeine. She's often eager to pick up coffee for us as long as we pay, and she gets one too. Now that we have our magic juice coursing through our veins and a concrete crew lined up, we've found our second wind. So with all our string lines crisscrossing across the rock pad, I'm spray painting directly over the string lines to mark the center of each interior footing. We still have a lot to do for such a small DIY crew before we can even think about scheduling the concrete pour. Best to stay focused on the task at hand. Anyway, my son continues to clean out the perimeter footings as my youngest daughter and I continue to reinforce the concrete forms. A lot more stakes need to be driven in, but I can only do so many at a time without collapsing, so we try to do a few every day or so. Now we're once again using our rotary laser to check and adjust the height of the forms as needed. We initially set all the forms high enough so that we could easily lower them to the final finished floor height. So now that the centers of our interior footings are marked, we're painting the square outlines for where we need to dig them out. A whole lot of measuring twice to make sure we only dig once. We're working on both the interior and perimeter footings at the same time, running 2 crews, father-daughter and mother-son. She's learning to sight down the lumber for crown, which is a great thing to know once we graduate to framing. I'm really proud of these kids getting out here, eager to learn and willing to work hard, especially nowadays. I hope this whole experience will benefit them in the future.
Here's where the conduit runs up to the building. That'll get cleaned up a little bit.
So yeah, making progress. We have all the interior footing centers marked, spray painted, just need to finish their outlines before digging each one out.
This is a perimeter beam. It's a monolithic pour, so it's all poured together. Now this is a little deeper on this side. The rest of it will be about 21 inches, but on this side it might be about 2 feet. My son, he's physically been able to knock things out and also solving problems. My youngest daughter's also out there helping me mark these up. These are for the interior columns. These are all marked, ready to dig.
And we're trying to keep our footings away from all the below slab electrical and plumbing.
It's a cool morning. So I went with 24-inch square footers. These are 26, 30 inches, plus the 45 transition. This is the 16 foot walls, 16, 14, 12, 10, 8. So I had 2 strings going across after it was all squared up, and then used a plumb bob to transfer the intersecting lines to a nail that I nailed into this pad of rock and sand. So hopefully it's all straight. I've learned a lot about tolerances. You can't really get perfect, even if you use lasers and such. I mean, it could be precise, but it'd just be a lot of extra work to get that level of precision. Just like that, the sun comes out. We start to cook. But it's a little bit cooler today. So I'm measuring from the inside of the forms. Can you go ahead and place that down there on the end? Pull it tight. Okay, good. And we should be at 1 inch or 12 feet, 1.5 inches. And then 1/4 inch over. Actually be 1/4 inch back. It should be at the 1/4 mark. Let's check over here. So this is pretty much right on. So that one's good. We still haven't finished these boards. I need to pull this board out some more. This is about 1/4 inch, it looks like. All right, yeah, at the 1/4. You have to sight down the face of the board and make sure it should be right about here. And right now, it's slightly off. It's 1/4 inch. I'm gonna take that into account when I check this measurement. Taking my measurement from down here, this is kind of convoluted. It's not very plumb, so I've made up about 1/4 inch. So my measurement should be good. I'll end up pulling this out to make sure the top is actually perfectly aligned with that string line. And it should be 12 feet, 1.5 inches to this string here, which is where we're putting this nail here. I'm gonna go ahead and move this over slightly. Put the 12 foot 1.5. Now I used a plumb bob originally, but sometimes my lines are too low to get that plumb bob under it, so I might do something like just kind of give myself a reference, finding the edges of the strings just to get a rough idea. And then I double check it my measurements, 12.5, and then before we dig, I'll double check all the pins in relation to each other to make sure we're pretty close, but we should be really good. And I have some tolerance on sitting on these footers, how far the posts can be towards the edge.
Now we're finishing the painted outlines for the interior footings.
Let's get our measurement. So half 26, I'm measuring 13 out. Total of 26 diameter of these footers. Interior column footers. And I just marked it at 30. This is why you double check your work. It should be 26. Bigger footer won't hurt it. Just cost me more money on the concrete. So there's 26, 13 center. I'm gonna get more coffee in me. Good night. So, I'm marking 13 for this. And 26. Let's place our boards. We use these as our frame. And double check. We'll do 13 off, which is somewhere here. So this side's good. We need to bring this side in. Good, good, perfect. Okay, let's pull that in as well.
Okay, goes in. Let's go.
Towards me. Very good. When we were doing the form boards for our foundation, you could measure the diagonals and see if they match. Let's see if you're square or not. So let's see here. Roughly. And then 36 1/4, they match. So that's how you know. All right, so we ran out of our marker spray, which is a lot more expensive, but it is bright orange. I bet we could buy some cheaper, regular old bright orange paint that might hold up just fine. Especially with the oil base. So we're using some craft paint that we, once we start digging, we'll lose our references, because we'll drop this string line.
Very pretty.
"24-foot diameter." That's a really large foot, or 24 foot. Marking 2 feet. Okay, so that means this should be dead center. And then 2 feet. Okay, make sure it's semi-straight. Okay. Push this out. That's about right there. Let's just double check this a couple times since we're so close there. All right, 24. Look good?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. These heavier point loads on the interior footers are not isolated at all. And this is a jointless floor, so it's a little crazy. It's here. One last one. Roughly place that. So that's a foot to our little center mark to the edge of the board. That's a foot. That needs to go out an inch.
So that makes 9 interior footings marked up and ready to be dug out. Now we're measuring between all the interior footings in relation to each other, checking their diagonals for square. So we're back to working on the forms a little bit more, reinforcing with nails and pulling the boards together with screws. Double checking the form heights with the rotary laser again, and just beeping our way around. We're thinking that the paint we've used will work out just fine even if it rains, and we'll be back to start digging out these interior footings.